Okay, we're about to continue. Please give a very warm applause to Tiffany, who um, has her son with her, who is sick unfortunately. So super cool that you're here anyways, and that you're even trying with a hand mic, even if you've got a competitor. um, so we'll be right back. Yeah, your applause, right. So we'll be right back to the machine room of digitization. That's what you do as a profession. And in a fearsome company, it's called 1913, which is 12 plus 1, so it's 12 is over. So that's really something that makes me fear things. So yeah, I'll be very interested to hear how resilience can make you go to 1913. Entrepreneur, the gift of failure, your stage, your 12 minutes, enjoy.
Thank you very much. I will try and talk through the microphone, and if not, I'll just project. So my apologies, I have to bring my son with me. This is Maximilian, he's turning 1 in a day. And he got very, very sick last night, and he's been mummy, crawling all over me, and I didn't think I could make it, so this is the only way we can do it today. So my name's Tiffany Hart, and I'm the Director of Digital Transformation for an innovation consultancy called 1913, based in Munich. I'm Australian. I'm also an entrepreneur, a podcaster, and a new mum, so as you can see. So today I'm going to cover some topics really around failure, the elephant in the room, and what it does and what happens to what you need to build resistance as an entrepreneur. I'll talk more about a really nice case study, very briefly, from Google X, and how to beat failure. He's probably more funny than me. So just to kind of go to the obvious, starting a business, as you know, is like running an obstacle course. It's a never-ending path of setbacks and challenges and potential roadblocks, but actually the most important thing is how you frame it. And your setbacks are completely up to you, and that's what helps you succeed. Can I have a hand, raise your hands, who actually runs their own business? Or who has their own startup? Great. So my story, I started my company in 2013 or 2012 in Australia, and back then there was hardly any accelerator programs in Europe, and I applied for 3 accelerator programs with my 2 co-founders, and we got accepted into 3 very quickly. Within 3 weeks we'd packed up our lives, we packed up our husbands and wives, and we moved to Amsterdam. We got into a program called Startup Bootcamp Amsterdam, and we started building our company very fast and very rapidly. We raised €250,000. We had quite a lot of success, as you can see. There's the Queen of the Netherlands here on the right, and we had a wonderful time. What happened, and when I talk about failure, is 18 months down the track, unfortunately, my co-founder died very dramatically and very seriously of a double stroke. And that left me, as a CEO, gobsmacked what to do, how to go forward, as he was a good friend of mine, and also how do I keep running the company with so many employees. So over the next 2 years, my other co-founder and I buckled down, and we've put our heads together on how we can actually guide our business without our technical co-founder. That was basically the light in where we were going with our business. And so we were looking at a really difficult situation, and I thought I'd failed. I thought I'd majorly failed the situation, lost €250,000, and I was like, shit. But then, as time went on, and I found more solutions, and I worked with the investors, and I found new possibilities, we found a buyer for the company. We wrapped up everything, repurposed the business, repurposed the concept, and sold it to a Swiss company after 2 years. I'm getting bitten. So I think there's 2 types of failure. The first type of failure I see is actually not starting and never trying. I see what happens if I put him down here. Never trying. Because you're afraid, and that's probably what a lot of us have felt before. There's also the type which is being too bold and too venturesome. And I can definitely put my hand up for being very bold and very venturesome, jumping from Australia to Amsterdam within 3 weeks' notice. And those two types of failure we kind of balance in between. Facing failure, it's a very hard thing, and most startups do fail. As you see, like the 1% actually do make it. And you can see this long list from Forbes here shows you all the different ways that actually ventures or startups do fail. From the top, it's actually no market need. You've created something that people don't like, and all the way down to the bottom, which is burnout, which is very, very prevalent in a lot of startups. So what does it take to have, what does resilience have to do with this? And I think it's really about rethinking what appears to be a negative event. If I stopped in that difficult situation and said, well, life's over, can't do anything more, I wouldn't move forward. I had to repurpose, rethink what I was doing and find a path forward for a better future, not only for me, but for the whole company and for the future of the business. And then looking past the short term. Sometimes things in the short term look really dangerous and very scary, but what actually is happening further than that? And the difference between success and failure often comes down to sticking it out, getting through the hard times, moving forward, and you know, if you're going through real difficulties, just keep on walking. So a great example that I found by Astrotella, the Captain Moonshot from X at Google, is he's the guy that's created and helped to create the self-driving car, that's helped to create the balloon-powered internet. Google Glass was actually, it is a failure of a product. Dangerous times ahead. He loves cables, this is the time. Mainly he eats cables at home. And he's a frekke Junge. So really what he does, and what I think was a great philosophy to adapt, especially in organizations and startups, is allowing them to fail, and it normally leads to profoundly amazing things. They go for great things. They don't go for okay things. They go for fantastic things. Rewarding teams that close a project, they actually have an applause circle in the organization. So if you've actually closed a project, or you've decided actually this is not great enough, the whole company applauses, and actually your team applaud you. Also rewarding through bonuses and vacations. So this is quite a crazy far out idea, and might not work for all organizations, but I think it's a good thing to think about and see, is there any aspect of that I can integrate into what I'm doing already? Yeah, it's going beyond what I'm doing and pushing beyond the boundaries. So creating a learning culture and accepting the right kind of failure to help push the boundaries of organizations through digital transformation. So you can beat the fear of failure, and I'm sure all of you have gone through different types of failure and lots of fear, and you've got many, many different methods, and here are 3 that I think are profound and I've used myself. Don't work for money, work to learn. And as entrepreneurs and as people that are future thinking, looking into innovation, it's more nice to look into projects that you're inspired by and passionate by instead of going for projects just to pay the bills. I like this quote from Thomas Edison: "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work." Be customer-centric, and this is a generic, understandable thing that's probably said in every single presentation today, but I will repeat it again. It's the most important thing for getting through. When you realize that your customer loves what you do, shifting the fear from failure to being desperately motivated to want to make the best for the person. And I find that the way to beat through that kind of fear is that you really know that you're doing the right thing. Yeah, you really certainly know in your depth of your core that you know you're doing the right thing. And that starts to kind of weed out the failure or the fear of failure in your mind. Well, for me it has. And then find support. And just to come back to the story I told about my co-founder, I could not be where I am today without the support of my investors, without the support of my mentors that I built up at that time. I was picked up, supported, I was 24 and going, what do I do next? How do I unlock this? And how do I find a new team? And how do I repackage this product? I had no idea. And I used the support network that I had. I used Startup Bootcamp. I used the mentors that I had. And it was so, so important. Very often we don't reach out for support when you need it. And I'm super passionate about that. Find a mentor that you love to work with. Find a support network. Build a team around you that love what you're doing, or as a group, you love what you're doing together. And that's a really, really important thing, I think, to reduce the fear of failure. And I listened to an Arnie quote on the way here, on the drive from Munich to here. And he said, "There's no such thing as a self-made man/woman. They always succeed with the help of others." So failure really is inevitable, and you're definitely going to make mistakes. And I'd like to see who's made a mistake. All of us. But transform your fear of failure into a catalyst for success. Shit happens, move on, find new ways. And it's how you respond and recover that define your failure or/success. So don't be afraid to face your failure head on. Reward, if you're in a company, reward progress and action and learning, not perfection. And this is how you can make your dreams come and become a reality. So what's your experience? I'd love to hear. This is not a one-way, this is a two-way. It's a discussion. And this is my experience of how I've moved through my own failure and fear. If you'd like to get in contact with me, of course, here's my details. We're launching a new podcast at the end of July called Grow Getters. It's the Future Skills Podcast for smart women in business. And I'm working for 1913 as the Director of Digital Transformation. So if you'd like to know more, we'll get in contact. Or if I'm too fast talking and you'd like to have a one-on-one, please let me know.
Okay, Tiffany, thank you very much. The next 6 minutes are yours. Find 10,000 ways to ask questions. Well, at least 3, 4, 5. Who's first?
If I may ask, Tiffany, thanks for your talk, by the way. What is the biggest failure in your life so far?
Well, it's how I think about it. It's how I repurpose the failure. I would say actually making too many rash decisions. Too many rash decisions at the start of my startup and burning cash too fast. Employing too many people, these are classic mistakes, yeah? Employing too many people, realizing I've got a burn rate that it's too much for me to handle, and having to scale down. I would say that's relatively, if I think about failure on a work level, that would be probably the biggest one. And that was a big learning, okay? I've got to be more mindful, I've got to be more considerate, I've got to think a little bit more long term before we raise the next round. And that was going in gung-ho, being too venturesome. And then I learnt from that lesson, and we started to change our course of direction, and we started to actually earn a profit in the next 2 years after that.
Next question. So if I just might add, what would you do if you were Elon Musk right now in terms of burning money and startups? If he called you, would you have any advice? I know, hard question.
I'd have no advice for him. And I don't think I relatively have advice, I just have learnings. And I think this is what it's all about, having a discussion about what you experience and opening that up. I think we live in a world where we become, if we fail or if we have fear of failure or if we have issues, very often we don't talk about it. And I think it's, especially with women and also in teams, that we should really use each other and help each other and help grow together. And I find that's important. So I would say collaboration is key. Yeah.
Thanks for your presentation. The second biggest reason you showed for failure was running out of cash. Mm-hmm. And I was just wondering in your presentation.
I think actually it's first.
Was it first?
Mm-hmm.
It was on the top.
Oh no, Mark. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So how does it fit with what you said? Like keep on going, find new ways, other solutions. If you ran out of cash.
Good point. I would say two things. I think if you run out of cash, you can either bootstrap, which I have done before. Yeah. So bootstrap. Bring everything right down to a bare minimum. Bootstrap is basically bringing all of your resources down to something that you can just survive with. Yeah, just right down to the bare minimum. And if the product market fit is there and you've done the wrong thing and you've been too rash and you've spent too much money, I would say the best thing is to bootstrap down to get to a point where you found a perfect customer or product market fit. If you can manage that with bootstrapping, yeah. So that would be the best thing. I think that's really the only option for you, other than raising another round, or you've got a great customer traction and you've got great numbers on paper. That's my personal opinion.
Yes, thanks a lot for your presentation. I actually have one question because I don't know how it's actually created and everything, but how did you choose this topic? For me, it sounds a bit like a success, your company. I don't know how it's working right now, but why did you choose to speak about failure today?
Because I think it's the elephant in the room, and especially at tech conferences, we talk about great products, we talk about great technology, we talk about how the future is going, but I think for us to address this kind of innate fear that we all have and find solutions to kind of tackle it head on when you're going into your own project or you're going into your own team project. Yeah. I think that's for me a really big driver to really tackle, okay, am I fearful of this? Are there ways for me to become better at what I'm doing? And I think failure is always this lingering thing in the back of our minds, and I think it's directly connected to what we do. If it's startups, if it's working in a corporation, if it's having a flower shop, anything, it's always in the back of our mind, and if we can address that, if we can look at that face on and become better with that, we all become better. That's my motivation.
One last quick question.
Just a short question. So, when you fail, what is your best way to get over it?
Try not to take it too seriously, and also not to take it too emotionally. I think that's the biggest thing. Not to get drowned in the sorrow and the pain that, oh God, I'm a failure. But find a way forward quickly. I think that's the best way, and trying to let go of the emotions attached to it. Yeah, we all feel, oh God, my mum's going to think I'm a failure, or my grandparents, or my team, or my boss, or my co-founders. To try not to dive too deeply into that sticky, icky, messy emotion, and be a bit more pragmatic about it.
Okay, I guess that wraps it up. 8 more seconds. Very short questions, but I guess not. Okay, so once more, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Quick recuperation for your son, of course.
Yep, thank you.
And stay with us.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks.